we're delighted to welcome Mr. Tomasz Pisula. He's an international affairs expert in the studio. Welcome, Tomasz, and thanks for taking the time.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. So let's get straight into it. I mean, the numbers are frightening. According to the Polish Defense Minister, Cezary Tomczyk, he's saying 300 to 400 migrants a day are trying to cross into Poland and the EU. This is clearly much more than a localized problem. Is there a role that other countries within the European Union can play to support the migrant issue on the border?
We've seen a certain discernment in between countries that were trying to think whether the migrants we're not accepting are the kind of good migrants that the EU was trying to accept in the past. We remember Angela Merkel's famous words, "All are welcome." And the sudden flock of people coming from North Africa, Middle East. At the same time, we knew that Belarus is actually orchestrating and working with organized crime groups, human traffickers, to bring in people from the Middle East and kind of trying to see whether we actually would protect our eastern border or not, we as Poland. And I guess this is what's happening. We've had that situation for the last couple of years. This was actually a reason of very heated internal debate inside Poland, whether we should accept those people or whether we should push them back. The previous government would say that this is a weaponized migration and we should, stand firm, hold our ground. We should not let them in. I guess the new government coming into power has realized that they also have to defend the border, so they kind of let go of the previous, let's say, narrative, and now they are doing whatever every reasonable government would be doing, which is
basically continuing with the buffer zone.
Of course,
essentially.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the buffer zone is, I guess, it's necessary. I think it's a long-term effort from the Russian or Belarusian side. I think we can treat them together to create or to try to fuel internal dispute, the internal political competition in between different parties within Poland, within EU. At this moment, we've heard of Polish border guards being actually attacked, stabbed with a knife. The violence certainly escalates. I think eventually, I hope it won't happen, but I think it's possible that there would be an exchange of fire eventually. This is basically because Lukashenko and Putin, they know that, let's say, border issue is a very hot topic inside Polish politics, and they're trying to fuel it and to see, how much, let's say, how much they can heat up Polish political debate and create internal problems in Poland. And this is, I think, the whole point of the operation, because moving in 300 people per day is not really something that Belarus would be, too interested financially or politically.
Certainly not. Now, I really need your expertise on something, because we recently heard a very interesting take on the situation from one of Belarusian opposition activists, stating that, well, the buffer zone is part of a solution now to make sure that there will be no hybrid warfare infiltrating Poland. But on the other hand, it also closes the opportunity, for instance, for Belarusian activists to flee their country, which is actually what Belarus wants. And now this activist mentioned that the majority of them will be now close within borders of Belarus and is enclosing Belarus even further. So do you think that the buffer zone is the ultimate solution, or could it have been done better?
Well, they can travel to Poland legally as well. That's, they don't need to cross the green border. I've worked on the issue of let's say, promoting democracy in Belarus for about 14 or 16 years. And, I remember when I used to service, waves of political migrants coming to Poland. And, they come through all ways and means. And, some of them, majority of them, legally, they just travel to Poland or to travel to different countries and seek asylum to Poland, which they usually receive. We've got thousands of of Belarusians studying in Poland since 2010, and I don't think that closing green border is that much of a deal. We can't have people smuggling arms. We can't have people smuggling drugs. I think the guys that are actually most hit by this buffer zone are, of course, local businesses in eastern Poland, because people that would be receiving tourists. But to be honest, I think the ones that are most concerned are the smugglers who were into smuggling alcohol and tobacco. And I know that region quite well. I used to go there quite often, actually, for holidays, for fishing. So I know what let's say some of the locals are up to. Right now, that part of business is gone and has been gone for the last couple of years because of the military presence.
Right. Well, certainly local businesses are going to take a hit.
Yes.
But the other thing is that when the buffer zone was initially introduced in 2021 by the previous government, human rights organisations said that basically this is going to make it more difficult for them to service the needs of the migrants, especially women and children. I'd like to focus on the women and children part. Do we know how many of these migrants at the border at the moment are women and children?
Well, I don't. I'm a human rights guy. I mean, I've done my part. But I would say the guys who were complaining about closing the border are what we would call peaceniks. I mean, the equivalent of 1970s, 1980s disarmament, hippies. We can't have that. I mean, once we close the border, we made it obvious for the human traffickers, well, this is not the way to go. Just go on somewhere else. I mean, stop taking those women and children. If we allow them in, then they will just take more people and accept more money and try to smuggle them. If they die on the way, who cares? We'll get new ones. So the only way to stop it, to prevent it, if we are really focused on human rights and people's lives, we should just seal the border and make sure that there aren't people that are being trafficked. And I say that as a human rights activist of 16 years of experience.
And speaking of now how to address the problem in its root cause, now Poland is to launch information campaign to deter illegal migration, and now Polish Foreign Minister has announced now a forthcoming information campaign targeting migrants' countries of origin. What do you think of it, and do you think that it will be effective?
I think it's a continuation of what has been done since 2020, 2021. I knew that that Poland has been active on Middle Eastern websites and discussion forums, and where they were actually saying that the so-called Polish route is a bad idea. That just don't go, because Poles they stand fast and they protect the border, and don't be tricked into paying human traffickers to get you into Poland, because chances are you won't make it.
Right. Now, going from information to disinformation, as Ola said earlier, the migration issue is part of a blended hybrid warfare strategy. Now, we've noticed, actually, as the EU parliamentary elections come up, or as they get closer, more and more organisations within the EU and Europe generally are being hit by cyber attacks. What are the outcomes, in your opinion, that countries like Russia and Belarus, and we make the assumption that they're behind them, maybe even China, what are the outcomes that they're looking for?
We don't have to make the assumptions. We know that this is Russia, and we actually can geolocalize some of the places where the attacks are originating from. I happen to know some of the people who are responsible for the defense of Polish critical IT infrastructure, and they've been complaining about Russian attacks at least since 2021. And they've been targeting our it's so-called skeletal networks. They've been hitting our airports and so forth. I think there's all different reasons to do that. One is, of course, they try to break in and collect information. Second is just pure joy of destruction and just shutting down someone else's servers, who are then for example, unable to service the air control. But I think it also takes away some of the resources that we have, because we need to spend them. We need to send people to address those attacks, and we're not protecting our servers elsewhere. And this is just a regular warfare, and it's been in place for a good couple of years, I would say. If you know people in the IT market, this is nothing new, sadly. Right. It had taken place. The good side is, I would say, I would rather have our IT engineers battle with IT engineers in Russia than have us exchange regular fire. So as long as it's kind of IT games, then perhaps it's good to leave it at that. I think we are better at IT, and we've got more resources. The free world, the US, we've got better infrastructure, we've got better computers, we've got better programmers. So I mean, whatever Russia is doing, they are always kind of one step behind us. So.
And zooming out, are there any patterns now in the targets chosen by these groups?
What are the targets? I would say anything.
Do we see any patterns between them?
Patterns. Yes. Some years ago, of course, they attack the critical infrastructure. They also, and this is something that has been in place for many years, they do target discussion forums, and they try to fuel that with. They find whatever whatever topic there is that creates that creates a heated discussion, and they would try to amplify. They would actually take both sides and make sure that the discussion is more heated. This has actually been documented in not even the last, but also the previous presidential election in the U.S. So and actually there were documented Russian trolls, for example, participating in COVID-19 vaccination forums or school board and school program forums, and whatever subject there is, really, they are agnostic to the issue. Whatever the subject is, they would just make sure that people start fighting with each other. I think this is what they're doing right now with the border. If something bad happens, people are killed. I don't know. There's a documented death of a criminal or migrant who's trying to get in, or a Polish soldier. Of course, they will jump into that and make sure that this becomes a topic of the political debate in Poland. What I would advise to Polish politicians is just stay off the subject. This is our internal affair. This is our border that we're documenting. We don't need to be talking to the public about what we do. We just need to be effective. And I think this is the smartest thing we can do.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Pisula, for coming in and sharing your insights with our audience. And we look forward to welcoming you again soon. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.